Hey there, bookworms. Welcome to Pouring Over Books, a podcast where we dive into the books we love and maybe a few we didn't. I'm your host, LaShawn, and every week I'll be deep diving into what I'm reading, recommendations, and talking about all the things that we love about books. So grab your favorite coffee or tea, find a cozy spot, and let's get ready to pour over some great books together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pouring Over Books podcast. I am LaShawn, your host, and May has been a busy book month. I keep hearing about books that I forgot that came out this month, and I should have put on my most anticipated list, but I didn't. And so now my TBR just keeps growing and growing and growing. Remember when I said that I hadn't read a book that really wowed me this year? That all of my 5-star reads were what I call expected 5-star reads? Well, friends, I have finished 5 books so far this month as of this recording, and every last one of them has been 4 stars and above, and 4 out of the 5 were 5 stars. These were unexpected books. One, I picked up the audio version because I was curious and was just blown away. The second, my friend Emily had been talking about this book. You know, Emily, who talks about romance with us sometimes. Anyway, she had been talking about this book for ages because it's one of her favorite authors, and I was like mightily interested. But being a good book friend, I decided to go ahead and read it because I love the author too. And oh my God, I stayed up until like 2 a.m. reading that book and then couldn't put it down the next day until I finished it. 5 out of 5 stars. If I could give that book a 10, I really would. It was just that good. And then I read another book that yet again I was only mildly interested in, and it hit all the buttons for me. It was a vibe for me. And then on Mother's Day, I took a deep dive into a dystopian fiction book, and I was like, well, okay, this is a vibe too. It's been a wild ride since May 1st, to say the least. And no, I'm not telling you the names of these books. I will tell you all about them in next month's recap because I may add things to my reviews. I wrote like a brief outline review of all of them, but I think the longer I think about it, the more I will get into it. So I want to save that for later. But before we get into today's topic, I want to remind you that Kennedy Ryan's Can't Get Enough comes out today. I read this book a few months ago, and it's been hard to keep quiet, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you my review because, friends, Kennedy Ryan has done it again. I'm going to start my review by saying that I loved the fact that this was a romance between two 40-somethings who had their life together, who knew what they wanted and who moved accordingly. I love that Hendrix is such an amazing and full and wonderful life. I love that Hendrix had such an amazing and full and wonderful life before Mav, and that he was simply the icing on the cake. Everyone was grown and mature, and I love that for all of us, especially us 40-something-year-olds. And the spice. But also, I want to say that I just really appreciated that being a caretaker for her mom with Alzheimer's was such a big part of Hen's storyline. The way that Kennedy Ryan portrayed their relationship and the changes they had to navigate because of the disease was beautiful. If I could give this book 10 stars, I would have. It was the perfect conclusion to the series. Go get it today. I hope you pre-ordered it, and if you didn't, when you get off work today or when you get time today, go get it and read it. It's perfect. It's perfect for the summer. It's just perfect. Just go get it. All right. So, did you know that May is Asian American and Pacific Island Heritage Month? I thought it would be a great idea to share a few books by Asian authors that I think you should read. A few classics, I got a few bestsellers here, and a few that are just good stories that I think everyone should read. Because I think books have a way of putting us into the shoes of people who, even though they may not look like us, they have the same dreams and aspirations that we do because they are human beings. And I think that at this time in the world, I think we all need a reminder of that. So whether you're looking into rom-coms, poetry, nail-biting thrillers, or multi-generational family sagas, there is sure to be a book written by and about Asian American authors in every genre. So let's start with my suggestions for you to add to your TBR. So first on our list is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Let's see what it's about. Authors June Haywood and Athea Liu were supposed to be twin rising stars, but Athena's a literary darling and June Haywood is a literary nobody. Who wants stories about basic white girls, Junie thinks. So when June witnesses Athena's death in a freak accident, she acts on impulse. She steals Athena's just finished masterpiece, an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War One. So what if June edits Athena's novel and sends it to her agent as her own work? So what if she lets her new publisher rebrand her as Juniper Song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo? Doesn't this piece of history deserve to be told, whoever the teller? That's what Junie claims, and the New York Times bestseller list seems to agree. But June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emergent evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. As Junie races to protect her secret, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. So I hate read this book. It says something about the skill of the author that even though June got on my last nerve, I had to find out what happened. I needed to get to the end of this book. It was excellent. An excellent read, a good, what do you call it? A good take on the publishing industry in general. It was just a good book. The next book I want to talk about is Panchiko by Min-Jing Lee. In this New York Times bestseller, 4 generations of poor Korean immigrant family fight to control their destiny in 20th century Japan. In the early 1900s, teenage Sunja, the adored daughter of a crippled fisherman, falls for a wealthy stranger. When she discovers she is pregnant and that her lover is married, she accepts an offer of marriage from a gentle, sickly minister passing through on his way to Japan. But her decision to abandon her home and reject her son's powerful father sets off a dramatic saga that will echo down through the generations. I admit to having this book, but I haven't finished it. It's one of those stories that I need time and stillness for, but it is on my eternal to be read list. I know a lot of people swear by this book. There is even an Apple series about this book, and I think I started watching the Apple series before I realized that it was an actual book. And if you know me, you know that I will always read the book before I watch the show. That's just me. All right. The next book is Crying in H Mark by Crying in Mark by Michelle Zauner. With humor and heart, she tells the story of growing up one of the few Asian American kids in her school in Eugene, Oregon, of struggling with her mother's particular high expectations of her, of a painful adolescence, treasured months spent in her grandmother's teeny apartment in Seoul, where she and her mother would bond late in the night over heaping plates of food. As she grew up, moving to the East Coast for college, finding work in the restaurant industry, and performing gigs with her fledgling band, and meeting the man who would become her husband, her Koreanness began to feel even more distant, even as she found the life she wanted to live. It was her mother's diagnosis of terminal cancer when Michelle was 25 that forced a reckoning with her identity and brought her to reclaim the gifts of taste, language, and history her mother had given her. This, too, has been on my eternal reading list since it came out. I even got it from the library and could not finish it because it needed to go back. So, again, one day, hopefully this year, I will get to it. The next book on our list is The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. In 1949, 4 Chinese women, recent immigrants to San Francisco, began meeting to play mahjong, remember the past, and gossip into the night. United in unspoken loss and new hope, they call themselves the Joy Luck Club. Amy Tan examines the memories that display these women's strength, worry, and determinations. As each woman reveals their secrets, trying to unravel the truth about her life, the strings become more tangled, more entwined. Mothers boast of despair over their daughters, and daughters roll their eyes even as they feel the inextricable tightening of the matriarchal ties that they believe has stymied their ability to face the uncertainties of the future. This is one of my favorite books of all time and one of my favorite movies. I highly recommend this book. Like, I cannot recommend it enough. It is it is one of my favorites. The next book I want to talk about is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. What if all the crushes you ever had found out how you felt about them all at once? This is my YA contribution to the list, but don't be discouraged. It's still so good. And I think they made this into a Netflix show. Yes, they did. There seems to be two of them. Anyway, 16-year-old Laura Jean Song keeps her love letters in a hat box her mother gave her. They aren't love letters to anyone else. They aren't love letters that anyone else wrote for her. These are ones she's written. One for every boy she's ever loved, 5 in all. When she writes, she pours out her heart and soul and says all the things she would never say in real life because her letters are for her eyes only. Until the day her secret letters are mailed, and suddenly Laura Jean's love life goes from imaginary to out of control. This was cute, and I suggest if you want a light, cute read, this is the one for you. The next book I want to talk about is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. Now, you know I had to include a romance. Stella Lane thinks math is the only thing that unites the universe. She comes up with algorithms to predict customer purchases, a job that has given her more money than she knows what to do with, and way less experience in dating department than the average 30-year-old. It doesn't help that Stella has Asperger's, and French kissing reminds her of a shark getting his teeth cleaned by a pilot fish. Her conclusion, she needs lots of practice with a professional, which is why she hires escort Michael Fan. The Vietnamese and Swedish stunner can't afford to turn down Stella's offer and agrees to help her check off all the boxes on her lesson plan, from foreplay to more than missionary position. Yes, it's spicy. Before long, not only learns to appreciate his kisses, but crave all of the other things he's making her feel. Their no-nonsense partnership starts making a strange sort of sense, and the pattern that emerges will convince Stella that love is the best kind of logic. I love this book. Actually, every book in this series, well, no, I take that back. The second book was not my favorite, but I liked it nonetheless, I guess you can say. But I did enjoy the third book, even though it is very heavy. I will say that the last book in this series is really heavy. The last book that I want to talk about is The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This was a Reese Book Club pick. It's, as you guessed, on my forever long TBR. By the day, 17-year-old Jo Kwon works as a lady's maid for the cruel daughter of one of the wealthiest men in Atlanta. But by night, Jo moonlights as the author of a newsletter advice column for the genteel Southern lady, Dear Miss Sweetie. When her column becomes wildly popular, she uses the power of the pen to address some of society's ills, but she's not prepared for the backlash that follows when her column challenges fixed ideas about race and gender. While her opponents clamor to uncover the secret identity of Miss Sweetie, a mysterious letter sets Jo off in a search for her own past and the parents who abandoned her as a baby. But when her efforts put her in the crosshairs of Atlanta's most notorious criminal, Jo must decide whether she, a girl used to living in the shadows, is ready to step into the light. With prose that is witty, insightful, and sometimes heartbreaking, Stacey Lee masterfully crafts an extraordinary social drama set in the New South. I always wonder, what do they mean, the New South? But I digress. Anyway, okay, friends. Like I said, that one's on my forever TBR too. So one day I will read it and I will give you my review. I hope that you heard something interesting that you want to pick up. And I hope that by amplifying these voices, it encourages you to seek out more on your own. Anyway, I want to add a new section to the podcast. I usually go into what I'm currently reading right now, but I always want to talk more about that because if you notice, every week I'm currently reading something different. So I want to start with the last book I read. I saw this on Instagram, by the way. It's not my original idea. So I want to start with the last book I read, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to read next. I say plan because you know I'm a mood reader and my moods can and most likely will change. So let's get started. The last book I read, which is one of the books I talked about above, is Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends by Tia Williams. Let's give you a description. So, meet Audrey, junior class president, debate team captain, unofficial student therapist, desperately in need of a good time. Meet Bash, mysterious new senior, everybody's crush, tall, floppy, great taste in jewelry, king of having a good time. It's the last day of school at Cheshire Prep, Brooklyn's elite academy, and Audrey Mercy Moore's life is a mess. Her dad canceled her annual summer visit to his Malibu beach house. Now she's stuck in a claustrophobic apartment with her mom, stepdad, and 1 year old sister, aka the Goblin Baby. Under these conditions, she'll never finish writing her self help book, i.e., the key to winning over Stanford's admission board. Cut to Bash Henry. Audrey hires him to be her fun consultant. His job to help her complete the experience challenge. Her list of 5 wild dares designed to give her juicy book material. She'll get inspo, he'll get paid. Everybody wins. He isn't boyfriend material and she's not looking for one. Can they stay professional despite their obvious connection? Now, this had no plans on reading this book, like none. I love Tia Williams to death. And this character, Audrey, she is the daughter of one of my favorite characters from 7 Days in June. Her book, 7 Days in June. Audrey first appeared in that book because she is the daughter of the main character there. And I've always loved Audrey. And I was curious about this. And then I got an arc for it on Libro FM and decided to go ahead and listen to it. And I was hooked because if there is one thing Tia Williams can do, it is right. And even though I was not looking for a YA book, a little YA romance, this was perfect for where I was at when I read it. It was literally the cutest thing ever. It was so cute, y'all. It was so sweet. And as an adult, I was like, oh, this is so cute. This is what the teenagers do. Anyway, so that was excellent. I think what did I give that book? It was excellent. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I really did. It was adventurous. It was emotional. It was funny. It was lighthearted. It hit all the spots. And if you have an older teen, like 16 and above, this might be the book that you share with them. Maybe y'all buddy read it. It's great. All right, so now let's get into what I'm currently reading. I am currently reading The Names by Florence Knapp. I heard about this on a podcast and I am actually listening to it because I had a credit that I needed to use and I decided to use it for that. So let's tell you what it's about. It is a Jenna Book Club pick featured on today. In the wake of a catastrophic storm, Cora sets off with her 9-year-old daughter, Maya, to register her son's birth. Her husband, Gordon, a local doctor respected in the community but a terrifying and controlling presence at home, intends for her to name the infant after him. But when the registrar asks her what she wants to call the child, Cora hesitates. Spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternating versions of Cora's and her young son's lives, shaped by her choice of name. In richly layered prose, The Name explores the painful ripple effects of domestic abuse, the messy ties of family, and the possibilities of autonomy and healing. I heard about this book, but what kept throwing me off were the alternating timelines. I know I've talked about this before. I hate alternating timelines. I usually hate deliberately reading these books, but then once I get one that's really good, I always get drawn in. I heard someone talk about this on a podcast, and the way she described it and the way she talked about it is the only reason why I went ahead and got this book. I will let you know. I just started it. I briefly started it, but then I got distracted by some other books. So this will be on my list for the week, and I will try to give you an update next week. We'll see. I'm really curious in how this goes. I was intrigued. So I'm trying to remember to get out of my comfort zone, and I hope that this is worth it for sure. Up next is Zeal by Morgan Jenkins because it came from the library and I have to take it back by the 30th of May. So I was late with my last few library returns and I feel horrible because they were all books with a waiting list. Plus, I am number 1 for another book, so I need to hurry up and finish this one so I can get to that one. This may all change because, of course, I am a mood reader. Okay, next up is Zeal. So let's talk about Zeal. I think I talked about this as one of my most anticipated books. It is an epic multi-generational novel that illuminates the legacy of slavery and the power of romantic love. So it alternates between Harlem 2019 and Natchez 1865. There are many things about this novel that normally I wouldn't read because they're just not my thing. Once again, the alternating timelines. I don't know how I keep getting drawn into these books, but here I am. One of the main subject matters is slavery. I am one of those people who does not like to read about slavery in my fiction books. I just don't. And I tend to be very empathetic when I'm reading sometimes and really get into stories, and it's draining for me. So I tend not to read them as much as, say, someone else. And that is my personal preference. I think that is the beauty of reading. There's always something everyone can read. My brain, especially right now, does not do well with slave narratives. I'm very interested in this book though, so I'm going to see how far I can get into it, and I will let you all know how I feel about this. But again, like I said, this can all change because I'm a mood reader, and a romance novel might go in here somewhere to cleanse my palate in between the literary fiction book and the fantasy books. I just might need a palate cleanser. So something else might get added into this before I even get to Zeal. So we'll see. I was going to end the pod right here. But I finished one of my books, and after I wrote up my review, I went to a variety of places online to see what others were saying about it. And remember, this is why I don't read reviews before I read a book or before I write my own review. The book in question is Silver Elite by Dani. What is her name? Dani Francis. This book just came out last week, but I heard about it months ago. There was a buzz, and I was like, is this going to be another sleeper like Fourth Wing? But a week after the book came out, the internets are crashing out about this book. I have never seen such a quick 1 minute all the reviews were glowing, the next minute all the reviews were in the trash. It is like fascinating. Let me see. I guess I'll read you what the book is about. Wait a minute. I have the book right in front of me. I'll just read it. I'll just read the book cover. Some of it, because it's kind of long. Wren Darlington has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. On the continent, being modified means a certain death, and Wren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her in the hands of the enemy, she's forced to join Silverblock, their most elite training program. She's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. But training for Silverblock can be deadly, especially when you're harboring dangerous secrets and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. As the stakes grow even higher, Wren must prove herself. That's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriatingly irresistible Cross Redden, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages between mods like her and those who aim to destroy them, Wren must decide just how far she's willing to go to protect herself and how much of the continent is worth saving. One of the many critiques of this book is that it is not Hunger Games for adults as described. I have the book, and I have looked on the publisher's website, and I've looked at all the description of the books on all the sites, and nowhere does it say that. That was from a article that the author talked about on Barnes & Noble's website. Another take is that the author is writing under a pen name. We know this is not the author's real name, which if you know anything about writers, nearly all of them, a lot of them have a pen name because they don't want their real government name out there because some folks are crazy. I see it on the internet every day. Some folks have no behavior. I mean, good gracious. One commenter on a TikTok video said that she was afraid to review and read the book in case the author ended up being someone problematic and she didn't want to promote someone problematic. Friends. Also, there's this discourse because the author, like I said, the author said something about how she likes the aesthetics of dystopian novels but wanted smut. But let me read you her actual quote that the author wrote herself on, like I said, it's on Barnes & Noble's website. She says, I've always loved dystopian stories. You know the kind, the crumbling world, the impossible stakes, the heroine who finds strength she didn't know she had. But all the stories that made me fall in love with the genre were young adult fiction. And while I still adore them, as a reader, I was craving something a little more heated on the page. In YA, those longing glances and intense slow burns often culminate in kissing, hard won and written exceptionally well, mind you. But when the world is burning and everything is literal life and death, I wanted to read something that matched those stakes. That's part of what led me to write Silver Elite. I wanted a dystopian story that has all the grit and danger and tension, but also turns up the heat. I wanted characters who are shaped by their world, scarred by it, and who make messy decisions, not just in battle, but in love too. In a world where everything is on the brink of destruction, emotions run high, desire can be just as powerful as fear or fury. I wrote this book for readers like me, the ones who devour books like Hunger Games, but wish the romances were more front and center. I'll link that interview in the show notes, and gotta get what she is saying, because while I love YA fantasy and dystopian novels because I think they are so well written, she's right, they are so well written. I agree with needing more heat, but that's just me. I finished this book this morning. I was gonna wait and include it in the roundup of my books of May, but since this is a hot topic right now, let's just go ahead and get into it with a little, like I said, I mainly heard it described as Hunger Game vibes when I went into the book with that in mind. I'm here to tell you that it is not Hunger Game vibes, but I definitely got Divergent vibes with more sex. So if you've read the Divergent series, think that, but with sex. Okay? All right. Even though a lot of people love to forget that Tris and Ford did have sex several times, but I digress. It was beautifully written, so it might have escaped you when you were younger, but they did the do. Anyway, it's predictable. The book is predictable. It's not the best written thing you've ever read. It's full of all of the tropes that you see in romantasy, romance, dystopia, fiction books in general. Like it's like she laid out the tropes and then she wrote them. I figured out the plot twists pretty early, but I think that's just because I am used to the pattern of these books. But I still enjoyed the unfolding of it when it happened. I like saying, yes, I was right. That was good for me. I think there could have been a little bit more time with our couple on the page. I feel like after a certain reveal in the book that happens like 75% through, I feel like after that reveal, they went from 0 to 10, and then the book ended with a lot of questions unanswered, but in a way that will have me reaching for the book 2 when it arrives. It was a fun time for me. Definitely not an in-depth take on dystopian society, say like The Fifth Season or Chain Gang All Stars or Parable of the Sower or even Hunger Games or Divergent. It's more military academy and light sci-fi, I'll say, with romance. But if you want something fun and interesting with good world building and enemies to lovers that ends up unexpectedly sweet and good vibes, pick this up. I gave it a 4.25 out of 5. All that to say that the level of insanity about this book is mind-boggling to me. Reading is subjective, but there's a big difference between critiquing and going off the deep end, talking about how the Booktok marketing propaganda machine made them do it. That's a real quote from a TikTok video that I saw, by the way. A book does not have to be a literary masterpiece in order for someone to rate it 5 stars. If you loved it, if you couldn't put it down, if you thought it was the best thing you read this week, if you read it for vibes and nothing else, if it made you feel good while reading it, or if it made you cry, or if it made you sad, or if it made you question life, and you gave it a 5-star rating, then it is a 5-star rating. All of these reasons justify a 5-star rating, because reading and even rating these books is subjective. I need the internet, the book internet in particular, to stop being judgy McJudgy pants about other people's ratings in the book community and about what is and isn't good fiction or good dystopian fiction or crashing out. I mean, I understand the whole author thing because people have been burned by one author who has suddenly taken one popular author who is taking quite a turn. I understand that completely. And you want to make sure you're not supporting her by supporting this book. This don't even sound like her. Really, I don't think this is her. It's not the same writing. But I just need everybody to remember that everything isn't for everybody and that your 5-star might be my 2-star and that friends is okay. Let people live and also stop crashing out about books. Books can be political. Books are political. Reading is political. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. Don't crash out on other people's comments. Might be the other thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it just really is wild watching how literally in like it was almost 24 hours how the ratings for this book changed. Amazing, all over some things that really folks need to just let it go and read something else, DNF, and move on. All right, anyway. Okay, friends, I gotta get off my soapbox. That is all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the pod today. If you did, I'd love it if you follow me on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. And if you have a little more time, please consider leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts or sharing the pod on social media. It truly helps us connect with other book friends and grow. As always, you can follow me personally on IG and TikTok at LaShawn Wilts and on my Substack at Letters to LaShawn. Okay, friends, thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.